Hi, and welcome to Matchmove for Production by VFX Tutors. I'm Josh, and in this video we'll be moving on to shot MM006. What we will do first is just play through the shot so we can see what we're going to track, then we'll open 3DEqualizer. So we've opened up 3DEqualizer. As you can see, our UI is on our basic setting. If we don't see that, if you've opened it up and you don't see that, and you see something like this, it's on its default. So if you go to the bottom left and click on Environments and check the Basic button, so now you've got your basic user interface with all your windows and your tabs that you need to complete a shot. So the first thing that we need to do is load in our image sequence for this shot. If you haven't downloaded it, it's fine. You can follow along with any other of your own stuff, but if you do download it and follow it through, you're going to find it very useful, and you'll have a massive advantage creating your own Matchmove showreel. And if you're not using on it past Matchmove and you're using it for placing an asset in there, you'll have all the data that you need, and it'll just be massively advantageous to you to have everything. You don't have to go and get your own stuff. So if we go to live action footage, and we'll go click on browse, and we'll go to our shot, which is MM06, the cave. And if we go to our plates and go to UHD, and if it says like this, we want to make sure we click on sequence view, so we bring in the entire sequence. And as you can see, it's pretty dark because we've transcoded this to a linear color space. So what we need to do, if we go over to our camera tab, which should already be open, and go to our 8-bit color conversion, if we change our gamma to 2.2, this will bring our viewing color space back to normal. So if we press spacebar to play through, we notice that we can't really play through because it's so laggy. So the first thing that we need to do is cache out our image sequence or create a buffer compression file. So before we even do that, we need to save it. So if we go to 3DE4 at the bottom left, save project as, and I'll make a new folder under here called tutorial. And when you're saving this, you need to make sure that you always save it same name as the shot name, so if anyone asks to come back to it, or you come back to it a couple of weeks later and you can't quite remember, you know exactly what shot this file's for. So I just called it the image sequence name _ cam v01. If I click OK, let's save now. So the next thing, if I go to the playback tab and export buffer compression file, and this could take a while, so I'll fast forward it. Cool, so that's exported out, and now the next thing we need to do is click on our import buffer compression file, and it'll be a lot quicker. So now if we press spacebar, we should be able to play for our shot and we can see exactly what's going on. We've got a slow move out from a cave entrance. Cool. So our next step is that we need to set up our lens. So if we go into our data package and open up the notepad for our camera data, see on these shots now that all we're getting now is what our camera is and our sensor size and what lens we're using. We can now figure out all the focal lengths and distortion anyway from that. So what we'll do, we'll put in our sensor size into our film back height and leave the width to figure it out on itself. So what we'll do, we'll put 1.88. We need to make sure we put millimeter in there so it converts over to centimeters. Now we'll leave the focal length at 30 because we're going to figure that out anyway with our scan. So next thing that we know what we want to do is if we go to our point group and open that up and go to 3D models and right click on that click Add New and Import OBJ file. And if we go to our data file and we go to Set Geo, go to Set Geo again, you should have a cave scan v01 OBJ. So if you click OK and load that in, oh, you won't see anything because you're in the wrong view. So if we go to F5, we can see the scans come in. So the first thing that we want to do is click on 3D model. Go to 3D models up here in your top left. Press the little triangle, click on cave scan, and first we'll put that to click this box for reference only straight away. And what we can do, we can bring down our alpha, and we can center the models, see how that goes. So now it's put it right in the center. Well, it's pushed our camera out, so our model's in the center. We're never actually moving the model, we're just moving around it in the camera. So if we hold shift and press right click, and we can come in close, and we can sort of almost get pretty, just by doing that, get super close already with that. And hold shift and press your middle mouse roller to move up. And already, just by doing that, it already looks pretty good. But what we'll do for all the other shots, if we go over to our 3D model, we go just below texture map and click on UV map, and we'll go to our texture, and we'll click on our cave scan TIFF. We click OK. This is an absolutely massive image. I don't know why that's AK, but it is. So if we click off show lines and show polygons, you can now see that we've got the textured model here now. So if we click turn it off and on, we can actually see places that we can do our single frame lineup to now. So I've picked this frame because we can see most stuff for the lineup, and we can also, yeah, so we can see everything already. So I'm going to just pick the last frame actually. So now what we want to do, we want to go to F2, and we want to make single frame tracking points. We don't want to solve them, so if you hold Control, left click, and you don't want to track it, you just want to leave it as it is, because these are going to be our points that we do a single frame to. What we can do, if we click to F5, we can actually see what parts we're going to see in, because we're not going to see all of this in here, we can only see a few bits in the scan. So we can see pretty much most of our entrance, but past the entrance we don't see much. So if we focus on a lot of the stuff on the entrance and on these inside bits, so I can see this little crack in our scan, so I'll make one there. Same with this bit, go to F2, click on there. Same with this point here. Just Control left click to make a single point. So we can see this little divot here, that's about here. We can actually see something a bit further down here as well. So if we get this little edge here, you can see the shadow, it's just here. Do we see anything? We don't really see anything on the right, unfortunately. But we do see something on this rock. So we can see this white splodge here. What we do, we've got enough points to get ourselves a rough lineup and try to figure out what our focal length is. So if we go to the first frame, go to F5, we'll find this little patch, which is that patch there. And if we have that point selected, go on extract polygon and click on it. So now we've made that 2D point correspond to that 3D space, and we want to do these for all the other shots. So we've got that little crack in here, so click on extract polygon, click where it's in the 3D model. Same here. Extract polygon, place in that little patch there. Just go for every single shot point. rock. Click extract polygon. Click on the geo. See, look. So something's gone funny there. Maybe it's. So if we press Alt C and see what happens. Looks like we may have surveyed it to the wrong. It might have clicked on the wrong place. So if we unsurvey that last one and press Alt C to solve the position, we can't, but we can match the frame on it, and that should bring us back. So if we select that point again, extract polygon, and it's done it again. So we'll survey free that, and we'll do that one last. So if we go back to match frame, it's gone nuts again. So if we hold shift and left click to rotate back, sometimes it does this when you do your lineups. It's probably because we're currently at the wrong focal length, so we'll skip that one for now. This is that little dark patch next to this white line. So it's this one here. So extract polygon. And that's pulled that back. So if we go to this one here, 2, we're on that little shadowy part there, which is here. Click extract polygon. There. Last one, we're on that rock. We're on that white patch on that rock. So if we click extract polygon, we are where is it? So that's the crack there. That's quite difficult to find, I saw. What we can do, because I'm not 100% sure, if we go back to F2, we can see this bit here a little bit more clearly, and that's about here. So if I click extract polygon, put that there. So press Alt C. It's obviously not going to work, so we're at the completely wrong focal length. So if we go to lens, go to our focal length and click it where it says fixed, click on adjust. So I've changed this to an adjustable parameter. We need to go to our windows and click on parameter adjustment window. Then if we change this to adaptive and adjust, what this will do, this will adjust our focal length to fit our survey points. So once you put those parameters on, it will go funny. So you need to Alt C again. And now when you click between your 3D models, you can see it start to work pretty well. And we've got a fairly good representation of what our focal length is going to be. So what we can do, we can finally get this point in, because it was being stubborn. So there we go, and now it's in. If we solve that, okay, so we've got a focal length of 18.7, so it could be 9 or 18 depending on the focus distance. So what we'll do, if we go to F3, and we'll bring in one of our lens grids. So our focal length is around 18.7 or 19. So if we go up to the top left where it says our camera in highlighted in yellow, we right click, add new, and click reference camera. And we want to double click on the reference camera and go to browse. So if you go to your data package, you'll have lens grid. If you go into your lens grids, click sequence view. So we've got in between 18 or 19. I'm going to go for 18. So if I click OK, that's now loaded in our 18mm lens grid. So if we press F3, we'll go to our Distortion Grid menu. So now what we want to do, we've got this distortion matrix in the middle. And if we click this top left one, you can see a zebra line. And if you click and drag and let go, it will snap to the correct place. So do that for the top left, top right, and bottom left. It should snap into place. Then at the bottom here you have snap. So if you click snap, it should snap everything else into the correct place. So now what we need to do, we need to fill out this lens grid. And the way to do that is if you hold Control and press up on your keyboard, you'll start adding more rows to this central column, and Control down, you'll start adding to below. And so Control left would add more to the left. You want to keep doing that until it fills up the lens grid, and Control right until it completely fills that out. If you go over, it doesn't matter because it will be grayed out and that will automatically be disabled. But if you want to delete them, if you hold Shift and press right, it will delete them. So other than that, we don't need to do anything else to this lens grid. All we need to do is go up to the top where it says Calc, click on Calc and calculate distortion and geometry, and click Calculate Lens Parameters. And then here we've got a low pixel deviation, which is good. It's worked quite accurately. So all we need to set parameters and close. So now if we flick between our distortion and undistort, we can see the amount of distortion that's being removed from the image. And now we're done with this section. So if we go back to our sequence camera, if we double click on our Cave BJ1 camera up here on the top left, if we click between two, we can see how much distortion is being removed from the shot by its stretching. So now if we go to F5 and we press Alt-C again to solve, we can flick between our 3D models and they're pretty much perfect straight away. I'm happy with that straight away. That's pretty good without changing much. So what we can also do, we'll just do a quick one final focal length adjust. Click adjust, just fine tune it a little bit more. It makes a much smaller amount of difference, but now if we flick between the two, we've got pretty much a perfect lineup. So now if we click on here, store pose, we've made a little keyframe to store the pose. So if we do lose it, we can recall it. But what we'll also do is we'll tidy these points away so we can keep them just in case it all goes wrong. And we'll always have these to go back on. So if we select all these by click top one and shift and left click all of them and hold and press right click, add new point set, and we'll call this SF. Click OK. Then we'll select all of these again and middle mouse click them into there. So what we need to do, we also need to make sure we right click these and go modify, calculation disabled. If you go view, hide selected points. So now we've hid them and they're disabled. Our next thing to do now is to track the shot. So what we can do, we can pick things that are going to be in shot the longest. So I'm gonna because we've lined up from the last frame, I'm going to track everything backwards. So if I select here, click gauge marker, track, and if your point's going wild like this, if you're not quite following, make sure you're clicking on center 2D so you can see it. And I'll just track some other things around here. So Alt left to click to create a new track, gauge marker and track. Keep doing that to multiple points. Control left click. And that one goes off. So we'll end that point. So make sure you always end your point, otherwise if you've got points drifting off, it's going to ruin your solve. So we'll look for other places. There. When you're working in production, you're working on shots, you'll always track stuff like this. You'll pretty much never use automatic tracking because it's just not good enough, and you'll waste a lot of time trying to fix it when you could have done a small amount of effort to make it correct straight away. So I'm sure there'll be people saying, oh, you could just automatically track this. It's like, yes, you probably could, but it will never be good enough. So we'll just go through, we'll select points, gauge marker and track. End that point, we don't want it drifting off. So we'll track this bit here. Gauge marker, track. Tracks this bit here. Gauge marker and track. We'll get some stuff down here. Track something on this rock. Just control left click to make a new tracking marker. It's getting a little bit wobbly, so I'll stop it. We'll see if the point we see. So what I'll do, I'll come back to here and I'll make this box smaller. And bring it up here. If I gauge the marker, because now when it gets close to edge to plate, hopefully it shouldn't slip. Do the same for this bit here. Gauge marker and track. And we'll end that. Can do. Not sure we can trust any of this geometry to project onto, so we won't. Could be quite reliable. Let's get something on this roof. So control left click, gauge marker and track. So if we select all our points and have a look at our spread, got quite a lot of around the edge. Maybe we could do some more in the middle. There's probably not very much to track here, but we can get something here. So gauge marker and track. It's quite wobbly, so what we'll do, we'll pick something else that's a bit more contrasty. So if we click gauge marker and track. See, we've got something here floating around, which we'll need to have a look at. Not sure what that is. Okay, I didn't. So if I delete that, that was one. I must have made a new one by accident. So you need to make sure you don't have any floaty points, otherwise they'll ruin your solve. So now we've got quite a good spread. So now if we go back to F5, look at our, see what points we can project onto. Luckily there's a piece of geo right there. I'm not sure how accurate that will be, but if we select all our points, go edit, project points on 3D models, we've got 10 of 13 points, so 3 of those haven't projected correctly, which is probably because of the clipping plane in 3D. So if we zoom in, click edit, project points on models, that one's projected, and now if we go on to this one, you can edit, project points of 3D models. Got one more, which is this one, wherever that is. So that one's not in shot yet. So what we'll do, we'll press Alt-C and solve, see where we get. So we've got a pretty good solve. It's looking pretty, albeit it's sort of sloping upwards. The general smoothness of it is pretty good. So what we'll do, we'll go out through and find out where this, I imagine this jump there. So if we go up to here, so if we project it on, edit, project points onto 3D models, Alt-C, solve it, and see if we fix that straight away. Now we just need to figure out why our curve's doing this. So first of all, what we'll do is, if we select our cave scan model, and we can turn off show polygons and go on show lines. So now we can sort of see the geometry working correctly. See every sort of bits fitting really well. So if we go to our deviation browser, we go show point deviation curves, active points only, it will show us the ones that are kicking up the most fuss. But first of all, what we'll do, we'll go to our parameter adjustment window, we'll clear that, and we'll do another focal length adjustment. And it's not even changed. So if we press Alt-C again, so it's going to be these two ramping ones. So if we go to F2, it's probably likely that they've projected almost slightly out of depth. So what we'll do, select these, and we'll right click on them, go Modify, Survey, and Approximately Survey, so that loosen them up a little bit to give them a little bit of wiggle room. So if we press Alt-C again, see we've leveled it out a little bit, we've still got some more. And what we'll do the same, right click, survey, approximately surveyed to that. And you can see we've completely flattened out almost. And what we'll do another focal length adjustment. We adjust, transfer the parameters. If we full frame this, press spacebar, we can have a look and see what our camera's doing. And it looks pretty perfect. All of our geos working, there's nothing slipping, nothing popping. See how the geometry wraps around all of the plate. All these little bits here. Stop that there. We have got a little jump here. Let's actually survey free that. It just might be projecting on a bit of rubbish geo. Yeah, that's pretty much. Let's see. Maybe we can just calculate, disable it, and resolve, and we've got rid of that jump. It does ramp up a little bit. But that should be fine. Cool, so we're done with this shot, so you can save it. Make sure that your 3D model has got reference only checked. Just save project as. Okay. I'm just going to overwrite, you don't have to. But now our next thing we need to do, we need to export out our camera, our lens distortion node, and our undistorted plate. So what we'll do, we'll go to 3D4 on the bottom left, run warp 4. And it should open up this window. So if we click on save footage, leave this as OpenEXR, click on browse, and what we want to do, we want to go to our save, so go to MMO6K, I'll put one in my folder, we'll make a new directory, I'm going to call it Cave BG01 V01 UHD UDP for undistorted plate, and we'll just copy this, click OK, and in that folder I'll just right click and paste here, and then you need to put .4 hashes .jpg So it knows it's an image sequence we want to render it out. So if we click OK, we'll leave this as it is. The only thing we'll change is the scale to 50%. Then we switch over to our warped footage and click preview. Then you can flip between two and you can see how much we chopped off, but it doesn't matter because this is only for my reference. We will add a overscan in the rendering. So with that all done, if you just click render, and hopefully some green bars should start popping up, or it will crash. So we'll go run warp 4 again, and we'll go to here. So click save footage, go browse, and G, Matchmove 06. Pause. So what we'll do, we'll go to 3D4, click on Run Warp 4. This window should open, and if we click Save Footage, leave it as an OpenEXR, change your scale to 50. So we're going to go to Browse, and go to where we've have our data package. I'll make a new directory. So what I'll do, I'll go to 3D4. We want to open up Run Warp 4. Save. It should open up this window. So now if we go to our warped footage and click preview, we flip between two, we'll see how much distortion is going to be removed. So now if we click save footage, if we go browse, we go to where our data is, so MMO6 tutorial, and I'll make a new directory, and I'll call this the same name as the shot. And we'll put UDP for undistorted plate. We'll select all this, right click and copy it. Click OK. And then we'll right click and paste. And we need to make sure we put dot 4 hashes dot EXR. So warp 4 knows that this is now an image sequence that needs to be rendered. Otherwise, if you don't do that, we'll just do a single frame. So if we click OK. Now, if we change our scale to 50, we can preview that. And if we click render, some little green bars should start popping up in here, which will signify it's rendering out its frames. Cool. And what I'll do, I'll fast forward this because this could take a while. Cool, so that's finally rendered. And so if we click File, Exit, we're now, what we need to do is we've exported our project. No, we haven't. So now we need to export out our project. So if we go to 3D4, export project Maya 2.5, our start frame needs to be the first frame of what our image sequence starts at, so it's 1001. We'll export file, and we'll go to a folder, and we'll make sure that we call this same name as our image sequence, so we know that this corresponds to that. Cam VO1. And click OK. Now that's exported out a mel script for our camera. So then also we need to go File, Export, Export Nuke LD 3D4 Lens Distortion node. We need to export this out for our compers, so when they export out, so when they finish their comps, they need to reapply the distortion back onto the CG. So if we click C, call it the same name as the plate. Nuke LD node VO1. Okay, that's exported, and now we're done in 3DEqualizer. We'll now move on to Maya, and we'll set up all the camera and finish it off. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll move on to the Maya part, then move on to the next shot. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, hit that like button and subscribe for more like this.